Our story starts a really long time ago. It was a time for toys, trees, birds, and animals. Our story starts before humans like you and me. Before shepherds, before wise men, our story begins long, long ago.
A time before everything, God made the world, and it was really good. God walked beside humans through the trees and the wood, but the humans he made, like you and me, were all nasty and mean, quite unfortunately. They didn't listen to God, hurt each other, and wouldn't make amends, so God and humans could no longer be friends. But to be friends again, God had a plan, and his plan was to send a very special young man.
Many years later, there was a young lady called Mary. So it happened that one day when the time was just right, an angel appeared and gave Mary a fright.
I bring good news. It's really good, honest. There'll be a baby born, just as God promised.
So Mary was going to have a baby, just as God promised, and the baby would be called Jesus. There was a man called Joseph, and he was going to marry Mary. Now, inside Mary a baby was growing, and Joseph stared at the baby bump showing. A bit worried about how the baby got there, Joseph scratched his head and twirled his hair. But when Joseph was dreaming, an angel made a visit to tell him the baby was there by God's Spirit.
I bring good news. It's really good, honest. There'll be a baby born, just as God promised.
Then Mary set off travelling, with Joseph right beside. They walked and talked for miles and miles, till Bethlehem arrived.
Mary was ready to give birth to the baby who'll be king. But guess what? There's no room for them at the inn.
Don't be afraid. Don't get uptight. Relax, take a breather. You'll be alright.
So they managed to find somewhere to stay in a stable, in a place full of hay. They stayed in a place where animals get fed. It was there that baby Jesus was born, with straw for a bed. In a field nearby, there were some shepherds, maybe cleaning their shoes, trying to scrape off the smelly sheep poos, till all of a sudden, it was really weird. Out of nowhere, an angel appeared.
Don't be afraid, that's what I say. Say hi to a baby in a manger full of hay.
Then, as the angel said that, something even weirder happened. Suddenly, loads of angels appeared. Low.
We bring good news. It's really good.
Honest.
There'll be a baby born, just as God promised.
So the shepherds, having listened to what the angels said, hurried off to Bethlehem to find Jesus in bed.
There are also some wise men in the story. They've been travelling ever so far. But they didn't use Google Maps or a sat-nav. They followed a star. They went to King Herod and asked if he knew where they could find the baby born king for me and for you. So King Herod sent the wise men to Bethlehem, which wasn't all that far. The wise men found Jesus next to animals with fur, and they brought him some gold, frankincense, and myrrh.
Wise men remembered that King Herod wanted them to report back to him. Herod seemed nice, but really was mean. So the wise men were warned in a dream.
Don't be afraid, hear what I say, just don't visit Herod, go home another way.
The baby grew up from a boy to a man. He made stuff out of wood like a carpenter can, and he did amazing things. He healed the sick, he told great stories, was amazing all the time. He also walked on water and turned water into wine.
Did you hear this good news? It's really good, honest. This baby grew up to do what God promised.
Remember that time long ago that was good, when God walked with humans through the trees in the wood? When people were mean and wouldn't make amends, and when God and humans could no longer be friends? But then God had a plan to make us friends again. Well, Jesus the baby and Jesus the man was the exact same Jesus of God's rescue plan. Jesus lived, then died, on a cross made of wood. He died for you and me to turn our wrong into good. But something happened after Jesus died that was really worth a big high five. Because the really good news is Jesus came alive.
Don't be scared or jumpy, and don't be afraid. I will be with you always, not for a bit, but always.
And that's why Christmas is really good news. Honest. When Jesus came, just as God promised.